Welcome back to Focal Point AFR Talk. Number to call if you want to join the conversation, 888-589-8840. Talk about anything that we have talked about today. You can talk about the Bundy Ranch showdown. I'm going to get to that here in the second half of the program. Jeff, why don't we grab soundbite A8. Now, this is a Democrat state representative in the state of Alabama. And I've got a story in the stack here somewhere about the backstory on this guy. He had made a bet. He's African-American. He'd made a bet that white families just don't adopt transracial children. He says they're racist, they are supremacists, and they don't go out and adopt. And the proof of that is they don't go out and adopt black children. And he put a bet on the table, $100,000. He says, if you can prove that I'm wrong, if you can prove that whites adopt black babies, I'll give you $100,000. Well, what happened? And he said, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll bring you $100,000 cash tomorrow if you show me a whole bunch of whites that adopted blacks in Alabama. I will go down there and mortgage my house and get it, cash in $20 bills, and bring it to you in a little briefcase. So last Wednesday, Jeremy and Beverly Owings organized a rally with more than 100 people on the steps of the Alabama State House. Those gathered held photos of mixed race families, and many in attendance brought the living proof they're multiracial children. So they demanded that this state representative, Alvin Holmes, cough it up. You gave your word. You gave your word before God and the entire United States of America. We're asking you to honor your pledge. So this guy got himself in a big, big jam. And then he responds in a local radio program. And you got to hear what he says. I want to play this so you hear it with his own words, because we have said from the very beginning, we've said once you break the threshold, once you cross the threshold, that sex is reserved for a man and a woman in a marriage relationship. Once you say that any other expression of sexual intimacy is okay, is acceptable as an alternative, there is no place to stop. Immorality becomes okay. Adultery becomes okay. Then homosexuality becomes okay. Then same-sex marriage becomes okay. Then polygamy becomes okay. Then incest becomes okay. And there's just no place to stop, including the worst form you can possibly think of, which is bestiality. Now listen to this guy. This guy's serious. He's on the radio. He got caught red-handed here. Made a $100,000 wager that whites don't adopt black babies. 100 people show up, living proof that they do. And so now he's on this radio program trying to defend himself. Let's listen.
I'm for interracial marriage. I'm for same-sex marriage. I'm the one that introduced the bill to have same-sex marriage. I don't care who marry who. If a man meet a little mule and he want to get married to the little mule, as long as he and the little mule get along all right, that's fine with me.
It doesn't bother me, he says, any kind of way. So there you have it. There's a Democrat. That's living proof. I mean, we talk about the fact that bestiality is the ultimate outcome of this. That's basically the last place that you can stop. That's as bad as it can get. And everybody says, oh, no, you're exaggerating. You're hyperventilating. That'll never happen. Are you crazy? Are you a lunatic? Well, here is a state representative, an elected representative, a Democrat in Alabama. He say, I don't care who marry who. If a man meet a little mule and he want to get married to the little mule, as long as he and the little mule get along all right, that's fine with me. He added, it doesn't bother me any kind of way. So there you have it. There's a politician saying, I am fine with people marrying animals. Doesn't bother me in any possible way. So there's living proof, ladies and gentlemen. That's where we're headed. All right, let's go to, and I remember all the trouble Rick Santorum got in by saying stuff like this. And now it turns out he and all of us have been saying the same thing. We are exactly right. And here is the living, audible proof of that. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's grab one from Kurt, Grants Pass, Oregon. Grant, welcome. Kurt, welcome. What's on your mind?
Thank you, Brian, for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I was out driving, listening to you talk about the income tax.
Yes, sir.
I have to disagree with you a little bit.
All right, shoot.
It was never ratified. There is a book out. It's many pages, 2 volumes, but I've seen volume 1, The Law That Never Was. Red Beckman, Bill Benson went to all the state capitals. They went to the archives in Washington, D.C., verified it was never ratified. Also, the Supreme Court said it did not give the government no new way of taxing the people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and I recommend people get the video, America, Freedom to Fascism. There is a jury trial where a man is being charged with 4 counts to file. He asked the prosecutor, what gives you the authority that says I have to file my badge? The jury.
Well, and Kurt, I'm sympathetic to your argument there that the 16th Amendment was never officially ratified. I think there are some real questions about whether the 17th Amendment, the one that provides for the direct election of senators, both of those absolutely terrible amendments, and there's questions about whether that was legitimately ratified. And I guess my point, Kurt, and I don't know how to resolve that debate. I'm probably more sympathetic to the people who say it wasn't technically legally ratified, similar to your position, probably would wind up agreeing with you on that. But my point is simply, even if it was ratified legitimately, even if it's perfectly constitutional, it still gives the federal government no authority to tax your wages or mine. It was very clearly intended to be a tax on profit. I'm looking at some of the definitions of income tax at the time, like from Black's Dictionary of Law. This is kind of the ultimate source here. Black's Dictionary of Law, 1891. It was reiterated verbatim in 1910, right at the time when the income tax was being debated. Here's how they define income tax. This is Black's Dictionary of Law: a tax on the yearly profits arising from property, professions, trades, and offices. So here's how much money you make. You deduct all of your expenses, everything it costs you to run the business, and if there's something left over, if there's some profit, then you get taxed on that. Nothing about wages and salaries in there. The judicial and statutory definition of words and phrases, dated 1904, it defined income tax as a tax, quote, which relates to the product or income from property or from business pursuits. It includes a tax on the gross receipts, listen, of a corporation or business. A tax on the gross receipts, it includes this, of a corporation or business. Once again, nothing about wages or salaries anywhere in there. Senator Heflin said this during the congressional debate, quote, an income tax seeks to reach the unearned wealth of the country and make it pay its fair share. Roger Foster wrote a treatise on the federal income tax under the Act of 1913, wrote this in 1914. This is what he says: it is evidently the intention as a general rule to tax only the profit of the taxpayer, not his whole revenue. So you make money in your business, you clear some kind of profit after you paid yourself, after you paid your staff, after you've paid rental, after you paid all the costs of inventory. If you have some profit, then you could be assessed a tax on that, but not on a man's whole revenue. So very, very clear. Here's Investopedia. Unearned income is any income that comes from investments and other sources unrelated to employment services. That's what an income tax was for. It was a tax on income that comes from investments and other sources unrelated to employment services. Wages, salaries specifically exempt. All right, Kurt, thank you for that call. Let's grab a call from Robert in Lafayette, Indiana. Robert, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Robert, what's on your mind?
Hi. I think that if the Democrats want to talk about racism and how Republicans are racist, we should go back to Lyndon B. Johnson and the Civil Rights Act, because under that, it was the Democrats who filibustered the Civil Rights Act for 12 hours. It was not the Republicans or the vast right-wing conspiracy. It was the Democrats. Yeah,
and that's a very, very good point. And Jeff, grab soundbite A6. This is President Obama, in fact, talking about LBJ, and he raises the very issue you talked about. Let's listen.
He wanted to call on senators and representatives to pass a civil rights bill, the most sweeping since Reconstruction. Most of his staff counseled him against it. They said it was hopeless, that it would anger powerful Southern Democrats and committee chairmen, that it risked derailing the rest of his domestic agenda. And one particularly bold aide said he did not believe a president should spend his time and power on lost causes, however worthy they might be. To which it is said, President Johnson replied, well, what the is the presidency for? What the is the presidency for? If not to fight for causes you believe in.
Now I'm looking at a piece here, Fred Lucas on The Blaze, talking about the 1964 bill that President Obama is talking about here. And the Democrats were the ones that claimed credit for the 1964 Civil Rights Bill, but it virtually mirrored Republican-backed legislation from 1875. All the 1964 Civil Rights Bill was a reworking, a retooling, a restating of the Republican Civil Rights Bill from 1875. And a greater percentage of Republicans in both the House and the Senate voted for this bill than Democrats. It was white Democrats from the South that filibustered this thing. It only got through because of Republican support. Focal Point AFR Talk. We'll be right back after the news.